Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. I hope everyone's going to have a wonderful day today, and this morning we're going to do a quick card. Yes we are. So I'm going to put my scruffy mat down and I'm going to put it that way around, and we're going to be using this die that I hauled yesterday, which is, let's get in there, this lovely rose die. So we're going to be using that. We're going to be using some of the tape that I hauled last week. That will become more apparent when I unravel it. So we're going to be using some of that. And I'm using, these are Wendy Vecchi archival inks. There we go. Leaf green, tea rose, and also sky blue. Make sure the camera's working. There we go. So I'm using those three inks. You can blend with archival. I usually stamp with it, but you can blend with it, and that's what we're doing today. Now that might look orange, but I promise you it isn't. And I don't even know if turning the angle away alters that. But it's like a sort of corally pink is the way to describe it. Oh, I got myself 3 new blendy foams, because I haven't got any with archival ink on yet. I've got my doody tool, my blending tool. We're going to use a splat stamp. Now you usually find stamps like this in journal sets, so any sort of like inky splash splat stamp that you've got would do. And here's what I've got up to so far. Right, I've cut 2 bases. I want craft for the background and I'm going white for the top. I have cut out the rose 3 times. So here I've cut it out twice. I'm going to try and get clear images, just because I wanted the thickness. I wanted it to, you know, stand out a bit. And on the 3rd time I just chopped off the rose. All I did was curve it around there with the pair of scissors, just to my liking, so that it's going to fit on top of there afterwards. Right, so that's what I've been up to. And I kept this piece. Now the reason I kept that is because if you look at that, the stem is quite delicate. So if you just drop your die cut back into the paper, then colouring it, you're less likely to put a crease in it. So the first colour that we want to use is, we're going to do the background after, is the leaf green. So let's just grab the lid off of that, grab a foam. Ooh, I do like using a new blending foam. That sounds crazy. I've got hundreds of them, but using a new one is great. Now, having chopped off the rose head, that means that I do not have to worry about green going on my flowery section, because my flowery section is going to go onto the top. And this is such a lovely colour. And you've got embossing on this, which means that your emboss section is going to show up lighter, which is, you know, fine by me. You can go a little bit darker. You can quite literally, you know, just like your oxides, go on, put another 2nd layer and get darker and lighter in some areas than others. Right, so that there is the leaf bit. How quick was that? Let's have a close-see. See how your embossed bits are paler. If you feel like the end of that leaf, you don't like it because it's too pale, just give it a little bit more ink, and the bottom of the stem. But what you've been able to do is colour it without it going, you know, all bent and wobbly on you. Right, so that is that bit done. And if you look here, there's no green. I don't think there's any green. I hope there's not, because it's all on there. Right, so now I'm going to put my rose down, and we are going to be using tea rose. So I'm just going to switch out my ink and my blending foam. I'm just going to peel that off. I'm going to go in with this one. And once again, because that's embossed, it should be lighter in the embossed sections. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of ink here and hope that it doesn't show up bright orange. Why it does that I do not know, because I'm working in natural daylight. So, you know, you would think that you'd get some true colour in there. So I know that I want my rose at the bottom to be darker, So I don't mind coming in off that section, and I want to be just a little bit paler there in that section, so you can still see the embossing. And I want to go a little bit darker there. So just build your colour up, and you can, you know, stop your blending foam from going further than you want it to just by working on the edge. And I think I need to go a little bit more there. So I'm quite happy to leave that really pale in that bit, and then I'm just going to highlight the edge of it. There we go. Super duper quick. Right, and as I was saying, you know, you got that bit, so all I need to do now is glue that bit onto that bit. So I'm going around with my glue, and then I'm just going to put a touch there and a little bit there. And let's get this down. Just want to line it up. I might have to pick it up towards myself. But now we've got our rose in the colours that it should be. And if you want to go off around your edge of your rose, you know, just to get rid of that white bit, then go ahead and do that. Or you could go around it with black soot oxide if you want a real strong highlight on it. But I quite like that. I think that's really pretty. Pretty and quick, that's what we're going for. Right, so next up we need to work on the base. Now, one of the things that I'd like to do on the base is, I might need to go and cut another one of these. What I was going to try and do is create a shadow, but I think I'm going to leave that out. I might be being too complicated for myself, especially at this time of the day. So we've got our base here, and I know that I want my rose to be quite central onto there. So now I want to decorate it. So I've got my tape. I'm using the butterfly one. This is one of the ones that didn't arrive, if you remember, and I was waiting on it. So always try to keep your carrier out of the way because you want the excess. So I've got that wrapped around, and just choose what you like. Now I'm trying to get right down on my edge here. And then gently pop it into place. And then just bring your carrier back up that bit so that you're not wasting it. And I've got my scissors. And now I'm going to straighten that piece off. I'm going to trim it here. I always give myself a bit of extra. So as I showed you last week, don't get rid of your carrier, because that makes you, see what I mean? You can find it easier for peeling next time. And keep your bit of washi, which is attached on the other side of my sticker at the moment. So I'm just going to pop this here so you can see it. And I'm going to remove the washi, because that's what stops your roll from unravelling. So it doesn't matter which way around you stick it on. There you go. So that's all nice and tidy. So now I just want to trim this, and I've got lovely elements of butterflies there. So just flip your cardstock over and get in there with your scissors and just try to cut as close to your card without cutting into your card. And then I'll put my scraps down there and get this one. There we go. So now I've got that lovely butterfly border. Now I want to use my sky blue and my splat stamp, and I need to estimate where my rose is going to be, because my rose is going to go across there. And I'm looking at the size of my splat stamp. If I take that off the block, because So I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to go midway there. Right, I like to eyeball stuff. So make sure your tape is nice and smooth, and that is. Now I'm going in with my sky blue on my splat stamp. I'm just going to ink that up. And of course this is, you know, sky blue, so it's going to be a suggestion of sky. Just a different colour to get behind the rose. Now if you've got any little script stamps or anything like that, you know, they're going to look great too. So just pop that down. And when you're using archival, I always find that if you just rest it on your paper for a few minutes, not a few minutes, a few seconds, sorry, you get a better saturation. And then depending, of course, on the cardstock that you're using, then it can take a few minutes for the ink to fully sink in and absorb, if you know what I mean. Right, so I've got that element, and I know that I want some there as well. So I'm just going to ink it up again. Make sure it's totally covered. And I'm going to go, I don't want to touch my tape. Right, I'm going to go there. So just a small amount of pressure, but I just want all my ink to come off onto my cardstock. So there we are. Now we've got our inky splashes, and they kind of ties in with the kind of inky sploshiness of my tape. So I really do like that. And now I'm going to do this. Oh, and buying the minis, I find that the minis are juicier than the big pads, but also if you buy a mini, you get to test to see if you like the colour before you buy them in larger sizes, which is always good. Now with this, I can pop that up on a foam pad if I want to, but because I cut it twice, I'm quite happy just to glue that down. But what I do want to do is I want to give this some highlight, which is why I wanted to use that stencil to do some shading. Now as you can see, this foam pad has seen better days, so I'm just going to move that out of the way in case any bits drop off on it. And I'm just going to add just a little bit of shadow. And have a look at that, just a little bit of shading, that's all I want. So I want to go underneath, which is where the shadow would be, and do that. And then I'm going to do a little bit on the back of this stem. And then I think I'm going to do the stamen. I don't think it's called a stamen. What's it called? This little spiky bit that's coming off the rose. I'm going to go under there. Now a little bit of foam pad just dropped off. There we go. Now that's better. I quite like that with its little bit of shading. So I'm going to decide now where about it's going to go. And I'm going to go there. Now you can of course put whatever sentiment you want onto this. Me personally, this style of card, I would use my my Dymo from Amazon, the plastic tape variety. Just stand that up. And this is going to take a couple of seconds to dry because it's on plastic at the bottom. So whereas I'm going to get, you know, instant there, it's not going to be so instant here. And also remember, when you stamp in archival, it's waterproof, so you can then go in and put whatever you want on top. So I'm just going to pause a second while that's drying, and I'll grab my Dymo. Okay, I've done that, and I've got black tape in here, I think. And if you've never used one of these before, or you do, you know, old school. I remember it as a child, which is why I love it. So I've got it on H, and I'm just going to do happy birthday. And then I'm going to move it to A. And what I'll do is I'll finish doing the happy, come back and show you how I cut it. Right, so believe it or not, that says happy. The Y is actually buried down there. And then you move over to this section and you just squeeze. And that cuts it. And then you just take it out. And then you can see that you always end up when you cut closer to your letters. So I just get my scissors and then just trim it down closer to my H. Who knows where that bit just dropped off to? As long as it's not on my card. And then just bend that back. And we've got happy. So I'm going to go there. You can get different widths of tape. I hope that's on straight. If it's not, it doesn't really matter. Right, I'm just going to print out my birthday. Okay, so I did that and trimmed the ends. I'm just going to peel this off. And this one, I hope, will go from the end of my cardstock. I'm just going to turn it this way for a second. Into the curve on that rose. Let's have a look. It may or may not be straight, but that's one of the beauties of, you know, creating a card like this. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Right, so now I've got my base there, and I'm going to put some glue down. And let's get this on. If you're wondering why I don't glue up to the stitched edge, it's because I don't really want glue oozing out. So I put just enough there that when it's squeezed, it goes, you know, almost to the edges. Now I just need to hold this towards me so I can get it straight. And I'm going to go there. I'm just going to press down all of my bits. And that's a really quick birthday card. I mean, it's 17 minutes. Took me a couple of minutes just to die cut that rose a couple of times. And that was it. So let's say we've got a 25-minute card. So there we've got our happy birthday. My happy might be a little bit wonky, but never mind. Really quick and easy colouring. You've got that lovely tape that adds, you know, a little bit of shimmer and shine. You could do a few little enamel dots onto here as well if you wanted to put some colour into it. Little gold ones would look really pretty. But that's what I've got for you today. So I'm going to move that out of the way. Right, I do hope, as always, that you have a wonderful day. And as usual, and please excuse my throat, all links below. Bye.